Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. District Attorney Sandra Doorley, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Rochester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been in jail 6 times, and 6 times a prosecutor assigned to every single one of my court appearances has not talked in court. District Attorney Sandra Doorley and Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles. What are the names of my prosecutors? I know you will refuse to answer, and I'll continue to demand you answer and identify these hacks and sociopaths and criminals that are delivering me to Monroe County Jail in Rochester, New York, and Livingston County Jail in Geneseo, New York, who have never talked. How is any citizen in the state of New York in jail when a prosecutor doesn't exercise a First Amendment right and make an argument that the defendant committed a crime? It's not a rhetorical question. It's because you corrupted the district attorney's office and you're delivering me to corrupt judges, Paul C. Metzer in Penfordtown Court, John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Penfordtown Court, and who elevated me to $208,000 70-year-old fossil and criminal Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. You know the answer. It's the prosecutor assigned to my court appearances. This is the Freedom of Information Law dated this May 31st. There are 17 in here. 17. It's a legally binding document because that's how I acquire the payrolls for the district attorney's office and sheriff's office. You will comply with 0 because you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, are corrupt, because you, Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles, are corrupt, and because you, Mark Monahan of the district attorney's office, are corrupt. It's the 1, 2, and 3 as far as I understand the power structure of the district attorney's office. Mark Monahan. What are the names of my prosecutors? Would you agree, Mark Monahan, that a district attorney's office anywhere in the United States of America that refuses to disclose the names of prosecutors assigned to a defendant's court appearance is corrupt? I don't know what your answer would be. Because your office is infested with corruption. That's why. So when I begin to read these Freedom of Information Law documents and I arrive at the ones demanding I have at least 3 prosecutors, the name is right here. The freak is right here. The criminal is right here. The sociopath is right here. Disclose a name to me, and I'll tell you where you can send it. So I'm going to read a few of these as well. This is my UPS box here in Rochester, New York. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604. This is what I just said to you on May 24th, deviants. I'm out of words to describe you hacks, sociopaths, and criminals. And that's why I went with the most basic one, which is criminals. That's not hyperbole. You are criminals at that sheriff's office. You're criminals at that district attorney's office. You're violently attacking me at the sheriff's office, sworn officer, badge and weapon, and violently attacking me like Richard J. Seaman and his $75,000 salary at the Penfield Public Library has violently attacked the pharmacy entrance of Wegmans. Officers of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office are violently attacking the criminals. A prosecutor stands in court. It doesn't make an argument that the defendant has committed a crime as a criminal and should be disbarred. I'm demanding these names, not just so I'll know these names. The Appellate Division of State Supreme Court is where an attorney is disbarred. Who is it? Christopher.chichester@mail.com. That's where you can reach me too. I'm going to say this again for you, Mark Monahan and Perry Duckles. Christopher.chichester@mail.com. Send me it. And when I print out the transcript of this and I send it to the United States Department of Justice, the Office of Governor Kathy Hochul, legislative leaders in Albany, Sabrina Lamar, the chairman of the Monroe County Legislature, don't see that what I'm saying to you. I understand nobody watches me. I get that. You can just blow it off. This arrives in your office, Freedom of Information Law. This has arrived in your office for 18 months right here, this document. And for 18 months, you're refusing disclosure of my prosecutor's silence. 18 plus months. That's insane. And I've used that word, insane, over and over and over. These are the cards here that I use here. I'm going to talk to a few of these people. I already filled these cards out, but right here, this document here arrived at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office. See how big that is? All those papers right there? That document arrived at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office. Well, I'm telling you again, to disclose the names of my prosecutors. When I say that document arrived, it's right here. You can see that. This begins on January 1, goes all the way until I believe the middle of May, over and over and over on in these documents here. I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors. It probably is 100 times. And you're refusing. I know what they look like. I can see them. I can see the names of these criminals and sociopaths and deviants. So this document here, I'm going to say this again for you. Corruption requires repetition. This document here arrived at, this is stamped May 27th. Todd Baxter got that. Sandra Doorley received it. Trini Ross, the United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, who was in Buffalo. And then Alex Renzi received this document here. So Miss Ross, the United States Attorney's Office, I'll just open this up randomly, should be able to see, like on February 22nd here, where I say it's insane. If she goes to these links, one judge, state legislature in Albany, Speaker Carl Heastie, Senate Majority Institute, because he changed this revolting law and allow one judge to determine guilt or innocence. Mark Phillips and Gina Harper, on February 22nd, I told Mark Phillips and Gina Harper on YouTube and also in writing, disclosing names of our prosecutors here on February 22nd, March, April, May, 3 months ago. I still don't know the names of these criminals and hacks and sociopaths and deviants prosecuting me in total silence. If you had a friend or family member at that sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, your friend or family member was prosecuted in total silence, I guarantee you'd reach the conclusion that the civil and constitutional rights of your friend or family members is smashed into a million little pieces. Todd Baxter, is it a crime to walk through that parking lot? Say yes. You bald-headed Benito Mussolini fascist. You have to say yes. Because not only didn't you fire your cop deviant $67,000 Shannon Meyer, but $67,000 Shannon Meyer is now $83,000 Shannon Meyer. That's the lunatic fringe. Todd Baxter, this is the warrant for my arrest written by her. My New York's 4,000-time criminal. That's right here. You know how she sets me up? She tells Steve Desmond, a broccoli tree and lawn care, this weed whacking, grass cutting racket, Roger attracted by his residence, as Chris Chichester comes out of your house and says anything, we're going to arrest him. That's not a crime, Todd Baxter. To walk outside, leave my residence, say nobody owns the land, walk back in my residence, and this is why people hate the police. If you're asked, Todd Baxter, why do people hate the police? You know what your answer is going to be? It's going to be that usual incoherent bumbling from you, where you talk, and you refuse to answer the question. You don't know why citizens hate the police, and you won't even admit that citizens hate the police because you're in a Jonestown, Todd Baxter. You're in 1984. You've been a cop your entire miserable, sick life. What the hell do you know about anything, Todd Baxter? Same thing with you employees at the sheriff's office. It is astonishing to me, it really is, that this cop Ray Shannon Meyer, this is what she's doing when violence is crashing down in Rochester. I lived in the city of Albany for 5 to 10 years. I lived in Albany County. I lived for 5 years right in the heart of Washington, D.C., so I have been in violent cities. This is completely different. Not only the type of violence that happens, just the way people behave on an everyday basis. We can see they're getting ready to be violent. So when violence is in Rochester, this is what your cop freak is doing. Concocting a crime for me and walk through the park lot for the 4,000th time. I'm going to write a criminal complaint about this name, Raj Shah, who lives over here, 2033 Penfield Road. This is false reporting an incident. I don't know how the hell this guy is an attorney, but he is. He begins to scream at me. I have this confrontation with him that is in this document right here that I took sentence for sentence. He is screaming at me in such a way that I had to restrain myself because I have known guys where I'm from on Long Island that would have attacked him. He knows this neighborhood shot that people walk through this parking lot every single day, including my excellent friend Adam, who's next to me. The elderly woman across the street who lives alone with a dog walks through this parking lot. Penfield High School and their red athletic apparel walk through this parking lot. Todd Baxter, tell your $83,000 cop freak, Shannon Meyer, I'm not trying to be engaging in any type of hyperbole or sarcastic. Tell her this should be her full-time job. You disgusting, sick, degenerate party switcher, Todd Baxter. Tell her to stand right here. And every time one foot goes into that parking lot, the handcuffs better go on and better be an arrest. Because you believe it's a crime at the sheriff's office. Todd Baxter, tell her to go there tomorrow at 7 a.m. and you'll see someone walk through that parking lot in 10 minutes. Todd Baxter, do you know why people hate the police in the United States of America? I'm going to write this down and you'll refuse to answer. I will ask you that question directly in writing to your office. Why do people hate the police in the United States of America? I'm going to tell you an answer from you. It's because of $83,000 cops like Shannon Meyer at the Marlborough County Sheriff's Office. Wow. Why do people hate the police in the United States of America? Coming to my residence to demand my dog. I went to Lollipop Farm Humane Society in 2012, my then girlfriend Laura Riley, when I was 47 years old. And we both asked if you ever been arrested. We lived in Webster. We both said no, and that's why we were able to adopt him. He was with me for 8 years. We moved from Webster to Penfield. I do not know, despite the fact my girlfriend and I live with Laura Riley, who's hired at the Penfield Public Library. That's why we moved. I do not know. At the end of the hallway from the entrance to the Penfield Public Library is Penfield Town Court. Perry Douglas, have you been in this nauseating, disgusting star chamber? Because I believe you were the deputy or the chief of the local courts. There's no table for a prosecutor to sit at. There's no table for a defense attorney and public defender to sit at. There's no witness box for testimony. There's certainly not a jury of 12 in Penfield Town Court. All it is these two sick, disgusting hacks, Paul C. Metzer and James P. Maloney Jr. And prior to Paul C. Metzer was John P. Metzer Jr. Is Penfield Town Court, as you understand a courtroom, Perry Douglas, a courtroom? I'm going to tell you what the answer is because you don't know what the answer is. The answer is no. Bench trial, again, the 1984 of these terms that have to do with the state of justice in the United States of America. There's no trial for me. It's I'm the defendant's scout standing in front of Paul C. Metzer, John P. Metzer Jr., and Alex Renzi, and I'm declared guilty. There's no trial for me. And the prosecutor knows that one word has to be spoken in court. So, this is the Freedom of Mail or Proton Mail. So the grand jury, Michelle Crowley, I've contacted you repeatedly, including back in February, and you refused to answer. I've written this down multiple times. Tell me the answer, Michelle Crowley. Why wasn't I called to the grand jury? Why didn't you call me for an interview? Answer these questions from me, Michelle Crowley. And you refuse to answer because you're corrupt. Freedom of Information Law, dated this May 31st, 2023. Information about the grand jury given by District Attorney Sandra Doorley to target Christopher Chichester as 1, the month, day, and year the grand jury is convened. 2, the assigned District Attorney's Office employee to address the grand jury. 2, the witnesses that testified to the grand jury. The vote of the grand jurors. 4, 5, a transcript of the grand jury proceeding. Michelle Crowley, you refuse to comply with this, and that's why you're corrupt. So I'm going to go through these. The month, day, and year. When? When was it? And you refuse to answer. I want to be able to find out when this thing convened. So as far as the assigned district attorney, was it you, Michelle Crowley, or was it somebody else? If you were the director of grand jury, you should have addressed this grand jury. If you didn't, then why? And who is it? And what was said? I'll get to that. You refused to also comply with that because you're corrupt, Michelle Crowley. The witness that testified to the grand jury, I know one name. It's Michael Houlihan. I leave my residence 2 years ago. Michael Houlihan, Todd Baxter, $73,000 freak, and Don Benedetto, Todd Baxter's $85,000 freak, come running at me. These are corrupt cops, Michelle Crowley. I never stop running. If I never stop running, I can't commit any type of crime. And they're going to have to explain themselves that he thinks I committed a crime as he grabbed my arm. I place my 3 steps. Michael Houlihan grabs my arm. The hammer I just grabbed goes up. I pull away. I run through the sliding glass door. I never stop running. Michael Houlihan went back to the district attorney's office and lied and said I swung a hammer at him. And then when he appeared before the grand jury, it's even worse than lying. He's a perjurer. I put his name on YouTube. You go to YouTube, type Michael Houlihan perjurer. You'll see me talking about this in more detail. Respond to me, Michelle Crowley. Christopher.chichestermail.com. Write me 200 words. If you watch me, I'll never know who watches me. But I'm going to send this to you, and I'm going to tell you to watch it and respond to me, Michelle Crowley, about why I wasn't called to the grand jury. And was Michael Houlihan the only witness? And who else was there? Did Betty Dano testify too? The vote of the grand jurors. Is it 18 to 24, hypothetically, if there are 18 grand jurors? Is it just a majority? Does it just take 10 to indict me and turn me into a personal ham sandwich? Michelle Crowley, what's the answer? A transcript of the grand jury proceeding. I know one doesn't exist, and this could be validation of your corruption again. Richard J. Siegel walks into the Penfield Public Library. This is again why you're psychopaths at that sheriff's office. And it's not going to matter. Sworn officer of law with a badge and a holstered weapon have violently attacked me over and over. Richard J. Siegel drove over to my residence with his partner, whose name I don't know. It was like this I haven't seen before. And they're staring at my front door, this lunatic fringe, waiting for me to exit my residence. I do. I walk down Penfield Road, bad road, to get to the Penfield Public Library, sit down and get a number. 5 minutes later, these 2 psychopaths come walking in there. Richard J. Seaton runs at me. He slams his arm into the side of my head. So it's the force of Richard J. Seaton's arm hitting me in the head. Then I fell backwards and then my head hit the ceramic tile. It's a violent attack. When I write the criminal complaint about him, he won't be arrested. He won't be prosecuted. He won't be fired because you, Todd Baxter, in the embrace of violence. Freedom of information law. The issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester, your address below for an expired check in the amount of $61.39 from the County of Monroe Office of Sheriff Inmate Fund account, because that's the dollar amount in the pocket of Chichester when he was violently attacked at Penfield Public Library by $75,904 Richard J. C. of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Silence and violence. The silence of the grand jury where I don't testify indicts me. The violence of the Sheriff's Office descends on me because you're a cop freaks, Todd Baxter. And you're a cop freak. You've been a cop freak nearly your whole life. So these are the names here. I have at least 3 prosecutors. Freedom of Information Law this May 31st. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester before John P. Lomenzo Jr. Penfield Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? Sandra Doorley. The freak is right on here. What's the name of the freak? Is this Julie Hahn or is this not Julie Hahn? This is a female. Total silence. Where's the ethics, the integrity? Standing there where I have to answer 2 concocted charges I'm not going to go into because it'll take too much time for me to explain them, but I've been on YouTube repeatedly about them. 2 concocted charges and I'm past 50. Lomenzo declares me guilty. Andrew Reale walks up to me and says, put your hands behind your back. That's when I know I'm going to Monroe County Jail. I take a step back. The Monroe County Sheriff Office employee behind me put his hands on my shoulder and shoved me down to the floor of Penfield Court. I'm on my knees, and I did something I have not done in 40 years. Since I was in a playground at Wing Street Elementary School on Long Island, I screamed, you're violating my rights. I have not screamed in 40 years, my entire adult life, until that day, because of you, Todd Baxter, and you, Sandra Doorley, and this revolting room with this 70-year-old fossil and hack, John P. Lomenzo Jr., and if hell's 5,000 degrees for him, that's not hot enough. So, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester for Paul C. Metro Penfield Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The freak is right here. What's the name of the freak? This is the boy in his 3-piece suit. I know what he looks like. You know his name, Perry Duckles. You know his name, Mark Monahan. You know his name, Chuck Rowley. Christopher.Chichester at mail.com. Mail to me. 70 documentation. You don't even have to write anything in the text box. All you have to do is attach a PDF, and I don't know, is put my name in the subject line saying prosecutors for Christopher Chichester. I'm going to tell you how to do this, you hacks, sociopaths, and criminals. Michelle Crowley, Perry Duckles, Mark Monahan, Christopher.Chichester at mail.com. Take a PDF that has all the names of my prosecutors on it, scan it, and mail it to that mail.com address with the names of all my prosecutors. It's that simple. And you refuse because you're criminals, because you're corrupt. So, who elevated me to $208,000 fossil Alex Renzi to prosecute assigned to that court appearance? I'm at 70 Liberty Pole Way. I'm getting so close to being able to move back to Albany. I get this document in the mail that compels me to go into $208,000 Alex Renzi New York State Supreme Court. This prosecutor has now altered my life where I'm still in Rochester, New York, because this prosecutor has hatred at the heart and vengeance, where this prosecutor knows that one word has to be spoken for me to be delivered to Monroe County Jail for Alex Renzi. And it's not for a concocted criminal charge. It's for something else that I'm not going to state, but I will in writing. Alex Renzi wants to examine the contents of my head because of whoever this is, where I'm ruled competent. Do you know what I'm talking about, District Attorney Sandra Doorley? Call $208,000 Alex Renzi, former employee of the District Attorney's Office, who's a prosecuting judge, and that's why he's so dangerous. He's with the prosecution every single time, and that's why in Monroe County Court, all it took is one of these criminals, and hacks, a sociopath. There was 2 standing behind me who I believe are my 2 female prosecutors. I could be incorrect. I don't know. You know. Tell me. Documentation of the case of Christopher Chichester for Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? Sandra Doorley. So is it on the payroll here, Meredith Smith at $110,742? I don't know. You know. Is it Elizabeth Buckley, $131,416? I don't know. You know. Is it Gregory Clark, $114,000? I don't know. You know. Is it Charles Dominic, $107,000? I don't know. You know. And is it Jennifer Kennedy, $111,000? I don't know. You know. My prosecutor sounds are right here. I just read the foil. Christopher Chichester at mail.com. 70 names, and you refuse. Every single one of my prosecutor sounds should be disbarred, and that's what I'm going to pursue. I will send the Appellate Division of State Supreme Court, I believe, at least 1,000 pages. My former employers, the United States Senate, United States House of Representatives, on Capitol Hill, where I worked for Congressman Morris Smith of Texas, Senator Lee Pistol of Maine, in 1996, passed the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996 that you, Todd Baxter, violated because you, Todd Baxter, gave my private health care records to $28,000 bald-headed widow, Paul C. Metro in Penfield Court. Respond to what I just said, Todd Baxter. This is what I'm going to tell the Department of Health in Albany, United States Department of Justice, Governor Kathy Hochul about you. Because she asked me a question, I only told my mother and father. What is wrong with you? Hatred defines you, Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information Law, copy of private health care records delivered to $28,000 Penfield Court Judge Paul C. Metro by Sheriff Todd Baxter in violation of Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Todd Baxter. Now, when I state the lunatic fringe, this is the high resolution color photo. That's it right there. This is 2025 Penfield Road. That's called surveillance device. Regina Harper, the public defender's office, has emailed me the links where I watch myself on this thing. How many times do I have to say this to you, Bino Mussolini skinhead? Is this private technology for this business, Consumer Insights at 20 Penfield Road, where Elliot Roth is the president? Or did you buy it and fix it for me and expend taxpayer dollars? Either way, that's the sick lunatic fringe. The reason why I'm sitting here, communicating with you, Todd Baxter, and you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, with the official finger of Brooklyn, New York, is because this cop freak, $83,000 Shannon Meyer, and you using this device upon me. You're not accountable to anyone. You don't think you have to answer anything. Lunatic fringe is what you are. Cost of his surveillance device purchased for taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter and affixed to a building in 2025 Penfield Road to monitor Christopher Chichester at 26 Sandstorm Drive, Wall Street Park lot next to the building, and that's the lunatic fringe. The reason why I said you purchased this, if I'm incorrect about this, then you could tell me I'm incorrect, and then you're using private technology on me. What's the answer, Todd Baxter? The 1964 Civil Rights Act, I'm sure you will agree at, the District Attorney's Office is the most important consequential law of the 20th century. Are you in compliance with it? As far as sexual harassment, I have not written this yet about race. I'm only concerned about sexual harassment because it's more common. So, at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office, I demand to know if there is what is commonly called sexual harassment in your offices. And what's the answer? You know, Perry Douglas, you would know that right away. You would know that instantaneously. So you will not give me an instantaneous answer, Perry Douglas, as I'm looking for the Sheriff's Office payroll. So, cost taxpayers, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter spending taxpayer dollars for employment-related discrimination lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Have you, Kathleen Miller, ever been sexually harassed in Monroe County Sheriff's Office? Todd Baxter. Tell me what the answer is. The cost taxpayers, freedom of information. The cost taxpayers, Monroe County District Attorney Sandra spending taxpayer dollars for employment-related discrimination lawsuits failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's the payroll of the District Attorney's Office here. So, we'll go to page 3 here. Is Lisa Howe at $35,624. If you cared about your employees, Sandra Doyle, you would call Lisa Howe, H-A-U-G-H, into the District Attorney's Office and ask her if she's ever, as she's understanding the term, sexual harassment at the District Attorney's Office. So is Lisa Howe down there at $35,624. And also on the payroll here is Kaylee Rosari at $71,000 at $71.65. So Kaylee Rosari makes twice as much as Lisa Howe, and that's why Kaylee Rosari is able to better protect herself. You know, she could still be a victim of sexual harassment. She makes twice as much. $35,000 employee is more vulnerable to sexual harassment than $70,000 employee. So Sandra Doyle, ask Lisa Howe and ask Kaylee Rosari if they've ever been sexually harassed at the District Attorney's Office. And I believe you're not going to do anything. Are there male sexual predators at the district attorney's office of Sandra Doorley? And do you not care that there are male sexual predators at the district attorney's office of Sandra Doorley? The answer is yes. You don't care. It does not matter to you because the law's a joke to you. That's why. So, total cost of overtime, time and a half. Total cost of overtime, time and a half for paid beyond base salaries calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Todd Baxter. Todd Baxter, do your employees double their salaries at the Sheriff's Office? Can $101,000 William Tadeo exceed your salary of $132,000 with overtime? Tell me what the answer is. And you refuse to answer because you're corrupt. That's why. District Attorney's Office, same foil. Freedom of Information Law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, and paid beyond base salaries calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Sandra Doorley. So this is the payroll for the District Attorney's Office as far as overtime, time and a half, and how that is done. So on the payroll here for the District Attorney's Office, here are Perry Douglas $144,000. Here are Mark Monahan $41,000. And for those salaries at $144 and $141, you refuse to answer this question from me. So you have Scott Miles at $120,265. So Sandra, you paid $210,000. Can Scott Miles, your employee at $120,000, be paid more money than you with time and a half overtime, or however the calculation is done when the 41st hour is reached? Is Scott Miles just a $120,000 employee? Or is he past $210,000, which is your salary, Sandra Doorley, and you refuse to answer because you're corrupt? Todd Baxter, I'm going to show you the lunatic fringe before I read this. When there's crime and violence in Rochester, New York, you're taking pictures of your employees underwater in a pool and it's posted to your Facebook page. I printed this out immediately. The first time I printed this and looked at this, it was confirmation of everything I think about your office. Buffoonery, stoogism, corruption, fanaticism. These are your employees. I don't care if it's a private. Again, in 1984, you failed to understand the English language of being a Muslim skinhead. I asked you and I've demanded from you, this is taxpayer dollars, and the response from you is this a private event? I don't care that it's a private event. Did you expend taxpayer dollars to take this photograph? Refuse to answer because you're corrupt. Because you're a criminal, Todd Baxter. That's why. Cost of photography session photo of 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. It's that simple. Tell me how much you paid for it. Because the answer is not $0. You had to hire a photographer. You had to coordinate that. Did you have, I'm trying not to laugh, a choreographer to set that up? So, what Mark Phillips, Regina Harper, and Julie Siaka paid at the Public Defender's Office with salary for everybody at the Public Defender's Office. You, Julie Siaka, when I send this to you, registered mail return receipt. One thing for me to read it, I could be blown up. When this arrives in your office, it won't. You shall send my mail back to me. Then I'll contact the members of the Monroe County Legislature. I'll say, I can't even find out salaries at the Public Defender's Office. It's Julie Siaka. Julie Siaka, if you're watching me, send me the payroll. Christopher.chichestermail.com so I can look at it. The names of salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office, Julie Siaka. You refuse because you're corrupt. You're in fear of the District Attorney's Office. That's why. There's no doubt about that. At the Public Defender's Office, Julie Siaka. The employees, to include Mark Phillips and Regina Harper, are de facto employees of the District Attorney's Office. So, at Penfield Town Court, is it just you, $28,000 bald-headed widow, Paul C. Metzer, and you, $34,000 James C. Mully Jr., and an old lady? Is Penfield Town Court 3 people? Tell me what the answer is. Is it more than 3 people? Freedom of Information. The names and salaries of a public employee, Penfield Town Court, 198.5 Bed Road, Penfield, New York. So the supervising judge is hacking fossil here, and you refuse to tell me who the prosecutors are assigned to him. He's got to have a staff of clerks, I believe, just like the Supreme Court has clerks. He's at such a status at New York State Supreme Court as a supervising judge. I believe he has clerks. This is why he's corrupt, among numerous reasons why he's corrupt. The names and salaries of every public employee at the New York State Supreme Court on the supervising judge, Alex Renzi, 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, 14614. He has this in his office. I hope he was in a rage when he looked at this. He probably is doing full Mo Green, do you know who I am, when he looks at this information for me, because he's an elitist. That's why. He's thinking he doesn't have to comply with anything because he's above the law. That's exactly the way he thinks about himself. The laws for other people, and that's the same thing for you, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, and your employees What's your employee Ryan Fisher doing out of Monroe County in Atlanta, Georgia for Super Bowl? When I contact Thomas B. DiNapoli and tell him this is a reason why you should be audited, I believe that when the controller looks at this, and then I tell him in detail how you're refusing over and over for 18 months, I believe this will be a reason Thomas B. DiNapoli in the controller's office in Albany will decide to audit you. Because he'll just think, what are they doing with taxpayer dollars? And what's this employee doing in Atlanta, Georgia? For your information, the cost for Old Town plaintiff from Monroe County Sheriff Office employee Ryan Fisher to attend Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia, February 3rd, 2019. You also sent $155,000 Corey Brown, who's paid more money than you, and $160,000 Michael Fowler to Saratoga. I got the documentation from you where you did not disclose everything I was demanding. I have to look at it again. I could be incorrect about that. Todd Baxter, what are your two employees paid more money than you doing in Saratoga? Was that for the track? Was that for the Travers or anything like that? The Travers is the race at Saratoga. Were they at Saratoga during the meet? And if they're at Saratoga during the meet and they're at the track and they're sitting there for races 1 through 10 and they're betting horses at Saratoga on a junket, that means they're not doing their jobs in Rochester, New York when violence is crashing down in Rochester, New York. This is why we need to remove from office again. This is going to grab the attention, I hope. I don't have the arrogance to write about everything. I can be incorrect about it. And when I say incorrect, I believe Thomas B. DiNapoli will look at this and think, why isn't he just telling a citizen the cost of his contract? Because that holstered weapon, Todd Baxter, it's not only handguns, it's long guns, it's rifles, can kill an innocent citizen. You decide your contract for those handguns. You decide your contract for those long guns and rifles. As I've said over and over, you have an arsenal. You decide who the contractor is. Who's the contractor? How much is the contract for not only handguns and rifles, every single weapon you have at Sheriff's Office? Pardon me. Tell me the answer. Sheriff Todd Baxter, and you refuse because you're corrupt, because you're a criminal, because you're a deviant, because you're above the law. Freedom of Information, the contract signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase firearms from Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor, 2, the number of firearms purchased, 3, the total amount of taxpayer dollars purchased for firearms. So that's every one right there. 17. It's going to arrive in your office too. You'll sign for it, register mail, return receipt. 17. That I just read at this 32-minute mark, and this is why you're corrupt. 0. Paul Seamus, I'm going to tell you what you're thinking. You're thinking he should go to jail. I wish he was in Penfield Town Court. How do I get him in Penfield Town Court, declare him guilty, and send him to jail? Because you're a psychopath, you bald-headed witch. Why? So this is Paul C. Metzler. I haven't looked at this yet because I will get physically ill. I will eventually open this. I was demanding information from them. So that says Penfield Town Court. I haven't opened that yet. I have not yet opened that list of defendants from you, Paul C. Metzler, in Penfield Town Court. Todd Baxter, I'm walking Gold's Gym at Fairport, where I lived in Penfield before my psychopath landlord, 80-year-old Anthony Ospano, locked the door and locked me out. That's a crime. He will not be arrested when I write the criminal complaint. So I'm getting ready to go into Fairport, and I'm about to walk by Wegmans, and here's your employee driving right by me. They are alongside this building at 2157 Penfield Road all day long. A joke, disgrace. They're alongside the building, and then they will drive in front of Wegmans, drive over to Target, and then they're driving around in circles. Monroe County Sheriff Office employee driving around circles, driving in front of Wegmans, driving around Target, driving in the parking lot in Penfield, New York. A joke, a disgrace. So, over and over and over. Perry Duckles, how do you look at this on January 1, 5 months ago? 5 months later, I still don't know the names of my prosecutors. So my mail coming back to me. So I'm going to tell Supreme Law, I'm not going to send these back to you. I'll take pictures of these. I'll also send this to the Department of Justice, Governor Kathy Hochul, and I'll send these to you, District Attorney Doorley and Sheriff Baxter. This is Public Defender Julie Sianka. I'm not just putting this in the mail. I'm paying to reach them. Well, I'm demanding information they have. Julie Sianka, every time I hold up one of these envelopes, this is information that's in the Public Defender's Office. They're refusing to disclose to me, and it's the prosecutor's silence for me. So this is UPS, Julie Sianka. There's her name right there. Some of these will have the label will be placed back on it. When it comes back to me, the post office will place the label over the name. But I know what the name is. That one there you can see. This is corruption here. When it's public public defender here who owes her job to the Monroe County Legislature. Every inch of that office is taxpayer dollars, and she knows the name. Julie Siaka, this public defender right here, knows the names of my prosecutors that I just demanded from you, and she's refusing, and that's why she's corrupt. So here she is again. You can clearly see her name. Send this back to me. This is corruption. She knows I'm demanding names of my prosecutors because she's in fear of the attorney's office. That's why. This one here, you can't see post office places. This is Julie Siaka. Her name is up here. Tracking's on here. That's her name right there. This is Regina Harper. You can see her name right here. This is corruption. I hope you know, Regina, that I once had respect for you and Mark Phillips, and it's slowly eroded. I just don't wake up and believe that you're de facto employees of the district attorney's office and you're every bit as corrupt. It was a slow process, 12 to 18 months while I arrived at where I'm right now, because you're sending this back to me. When you can tell me the name of this boy, quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. That's your exact language to me, Regina Harper, about this boy whose name you know and you refuse to tell me, and that's why you're corrupt. This is again, Regina Harper, stickers over her name, but that's her name. Regina Harper, you can see her name coming back to me. That's corruption, sending it back to me. Regina Harper, you know, this is Mark Phillips here. This is Mark Phillips right there. You can see Mark Phillips' name clearly here. This is corruption. Mark Phillips right there. I'm paying to reach them. Registered mail return receipt. This gets into the public defender's office, 10 Northview Fifth Street. He looks at this. He knows I'm demanding names of my prosecutors. He sends it back to me. He put the envelope over. It's Mark Phillips again. This Jansen McNair Patrick, did you call County Executive Adam Bello and demand or ask, I should say, that Jansen McNair be named Director of the Office of Public Integrity? Why does Monroe County need this Patrick hire right here? He's a double dipper now, just like you, Todd Baxter, right? Because he got his 20 at the sheriff's office. He's collected his retirement check, and then he's on the payroll again for the Monroe County Office of Public Integrity. Double dipper Jansen McNair. Taxpayer financed hack Jansen McNair returning my mail to me. So, and here he is again. Same thing. Sent him a packet, came back to me. What's he do all day? A joke, a disgrace? So the Freedom of Information Law, which you have received from me now. And this here, these 17 documents here, I'll place this in the mail, make copies of this. You'll look right at it, and you'll refuse to comply. You periodicals, you Mark Monahan, your boss, District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, you know. I've sent it to you repeatedly, right here. So I don't have any clothes. I'm buying clothes at the Goodwill because of Anthony Ospano. When I'm in this Goodwill and I'm looking for clothes, I'm thinking, I need to get a $2 shirt, which is what I'm wearing right now. I'm thinking about this 80-year-old man the whole time. This 80-year-old man, Anthony Ospano, was forcing me to buy clothes at the Goodwill because I don't have any clothes and locked doors and locked me out. And I'm sleeping in Harris Whalen Park. He should be next to the murderers and the rapists just like I was. He should be next to these inmates who exist in misogyny, using language that I have never heard before. I have never heard this language, the way these inmates talk about women. I'm not even going to say it. It's so vile and disgusting. What I have heard over and over and over, being in Monroe County Jail, when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court, you're refusing to tell me who it is. These prosecutors that don't talk in court while I'm holding up these 2XL price tags. That's why I'm wearing this white shirt that I got for $2, $3, $4, something like this, less than $5. Because when I go in there, I'm thinking, I need to get something for less than $5. It does not matter to you that this Anthony Ospano locked the doors and locked me out without a court order. I was in that park, Harris Whalen Park, for 3 weeks, and all my clothes are gone. And my ex-girlfriend participated in this, Laura Riley of, I think, Webster, New York, who's refusing to tell me what happened. So, Deputy Todd Thurston, I'm going to send you this YouTube link because I don't know if you watch me. You're copied on here. Either I'm going to use Proton Mail or Gmail. Richard J. Siebman Todd should be fired immediately because not because of anything that he's done to me in violent attack. He will violently attack. This is a psychopath cop. So I'm going to send this to you, Todd. Captain Scott Alberti, I'm going to send you this YouTube along with a packet of information. Mark Monahan, you're going to get this. I already wrote your name on here. Tell me your names on prosecutors. I believe that when this comes to you and you'll see the Freedom of Information Law that I just read, it's going to arrive at the District Attorney's Office, Mark Monahan. I believe you look at it and you won't care, it won't matter, and you're not going to disclose the names of prosecutors assigned to my court appearances. prosecuting me in total silence, Mark Monahan. So Sheriff Thomas Doherty, I'm going to ask of him, what am I doing in Livingston County Jail? Paul C. Metzler and Richard J. Seidman, this violent fanatic, decided I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail. Two people decided I'm going to be in Geneseo, New York, in jail. Where's the pod system? They had the bars and the pod system. I'm now fairly versed, perhaps even an expert, in the different designs of jails. Because Livingston County Jail is a different type of jail than Monroe County Jail. Perry Duckles, this is going to come to you, this YouTube, and what you've already received, Perry Duckles, is this too. This is, I sent this to you. You can see right here. I'm going to send this to you again. This document I'm holding here, you'll be able to see your name right here, Perry Duckles. What's not done saying I've demanded names on prosecutor's silence for 18 months, and you'll still refuse to tell me. That's why you're corrupt. So, it's going to come in and Paul C. Metzler. How do you explain having my private health care records, you $28,000 bald-headed widow and psychopath? Do you notice, Paul C. Metzler, that there's not a jury 12? There's not a witness box for testimony? There's not a table for a prosecutor? There's not a table for a defense attorney, public defendant? All it is you. You disgusting, sick hack determining guilt or innocence. You're the last person equipped to determine guilt or innocence, you $28,000 bald-headed widow. So, I'll move from this loft to the transit center I lived in. So, all the documents here. This is all Freedom of Information law. You can apply with any of them. Over and over. I think this is 6 months worth. I don't know how many. There's a knife here. I carried a knife on my hip. What goes on at that transit center where I lived in Pleasant Street. When I would go to Worldwide News, which would take me about 90 seconds to walk from my door where I had a key fob, electronic key, to get to Worldwide News. If it was 9 o'clock at night, I was extremely concerned about what's around me. And this is a knife I would have on my belt. Because the transit center freaks would come over to where I lived on Pleasant Street. And they would just loiter out there. There's loitering all over Monroe County, all over Rochester, New York, with these transit center freaks around that area. The transit center freaks loiter in Rochester, New York. And Mayor Malik Evans doesn't do anything about this at all. Because Rochester, New York is a corrupt city. And what you're not going to do, Todd Baxter, is fire your $83,000 cop for you can start here, but this is the warrant for my arrest. This warrant here, and walking through a parking lot 4,000 times. This parking lot here, this is the warrant, this is the lunatic fringe. Lunatic fringe warrant, this is the parking lot. It's not a crime to walk this parking lot, Todd Baxter. You'll have to say it's a crime to walk this parking lot. You are the blue wall silence. It does not matter to you, Todd Baxter, that this cop freak right here, this Shannon Meyer, this is the warrant, this is the parking lot. Todd Baxter, it's not a crime to walk through that parking lot. So, tell me the names of the freaks. It's the last thing I'm going to end with now in my 43 minutes. My prosecutors of silence are on here. Tell me their names. Perry Duckles, Mark Monahan, Acting District Attorney's Office. You, Perry Duckles, and Mark Monahan, District Attorney's Office, will refuse to disclose names. My prosecutor's silence because you're criminals, because you're corrupt. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been an innocent man my whole life.